This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. Donald Trump had a historic victory last night in Iowa, and that is leading to historic amounts of salt flowing from his haters in the corporate press. Like here on Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade, a guy who really doesn't like Trump, and he said so, having to listen to this commentary.
Trump did not have, I was thinking about it this morning, he didn't have a landslide. It was so-called, he had an avalanche. And so the question...
He had an avalanche. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the avalanche. Look at that. You have an entire state with 99 counties that all went for Donald Trump. Now, some people say that there's a county right here, Johnson County, that actually was won by Nikki Haley by one vote. But Democrats crossed party lines to vote for Nikki Haley, so I ain't going to count that. That's a Democrat county, and Democrats are the only people voting there. And Nikki Haley is getting Democrat votes, and we know that. So, no, Donald Trump had a deafening victory, and it was resounding, and it was historic, and Dan Scavino is now sharing memes like this. Kleenex, come on, baby, cry more. Revolver News saying that Donald Trump makes history ever since the Reagan era. You have to go back to the era of Reagan when I was born. I was born in 1986. So you have to go back essentially to my birth year. I'm 37 years old. To find a victory that was even close to as lopsided as the one that Donald Trump delivered last night. 1988, in fact, Bob Dole winning the Iowa caucuses right here, 1988 by 37%, but Donald Trump won by 51%. No one in a contested race, right, with more than one person running, because there are sometimes the incumbent president runs uncontested. No one has ever won in a contested race over 50% in Iowa caucus history. So there you go. So this is historic. And actually, in 2016, the last time that there was a contested race, Donald Trump came in second, interestingly enough, to Ted Cruz right there. I'd kind of forgotten about that, but that's wild. President Trump didn't just participate in the 2024 Iowa caucus, he made history. For months, we've been hearing about the propaganda. Media was supposed to be a contest for the GOP and that Ron DeSantis would win or whatever, or Nikki Haley would win. Trump was leaps and bounds ahead, leaving no chance for anyone else. They called the race like 10 seconds in to the race, ladies and gentlemen. Also, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy dropping out of the race and fully endorsing Donald Trump after the results. Donald Trump now posting a nice message about Vivek. Thank you, Vivek. Great honor. So how did our corporate media handle all this? Well, not great. So Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley have decided they are going to stay in the race. Now, even the old salts on Fox News are saying you are delusional.
Highfalutin with all the rhetoric about the Civil War and earlier presidents and the beaches of Normandy and all the rest of it for a guy who got 20% after betting the whole campaign on the Iowa.
kind of highfalutin for a guy who got 20% in the Iowa caucus. Leave it to Brittany. It's really funny. Over on the other networks, they cut Donald Trump's speech, his victory speech. Donald Trump had a great victory speech. He had a victory speech where he called for unity in the party. This is what he said.
So nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important. And I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to thank everybody. This has been...
We're going to come together, Donald Trump says. It's going to be beautiful, and we're going to have unity in our nation. CNN couldn't have any rhetoric like that. You can't have rhetoric where Americans come together and live in peace. Where would CNN get their ratings? Americans must burn down each other's cities and believe hoaxes. That's the America that CNN wants. So CNN cut the feed.
Baby, we're going to seal up the border. Because right now we have an invasion. We have an invasion of millions and millions of people that are coming into our country. I can't imagine why they think that's a good thing.
Donald Trump declaring victory with a historically strong showing in the Iowa caucuses. If these numbers hold, the biggest victory for a non-incumbent president in the modern era for this contest. A relatively subdued speech as these things go so far, although here he is right now under my voice. You hear him repeating his anti-immigrant rhetoric. He did take time to praise his rivals, Haley and DeSantis and Ramaswamy by name. Rather un-Trump-like to do that. Gracious, but perhaps a sign of some message discipline, at least for one night.
Cry more, you absolute fraud. Jake Tapper always sounding like he's on the verge of tears. Oh, it's nice to have some message discipline for one night. Very un-Trump-like. Jake Tapper was crying later in the broadcast when they gave the polling numbers on air about what the Republican Party believes in Iowa, specifically about stolen elections. Watch the absolute tears.
Our pollsters, and right now we can reveal the first information from our entrance poll of Iowa voters as they went into caucus sites across the state. David Chalian is here with that. David, what are you seeing?
Well, Jake, we are sort of trying to take stock of what does this electorate look like in Iowa tonight. Now, these are early entrance poll results. These are people who arrived at the caucus site early. These numbers will change throughout the night as we do more interviews. But look at this. We asked folks, are you part of the MAGA movement? 53%, a majority of those that we've interviewed thus far say yes, they consider themselves part of the MAGA movement. 41% say no, they're not. We also asked folks, do you think Joe Biden legitimately won the 2020 election? 68%, more than two-thirds of those in these early entrance poll results showing up early to the caucus sites say no, he did not. Wrongly say no, he did not win legitimately in 2020. And then we asked, if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime, do you still think he's fit for the presidency? A similar result here. Nearly two-thirds of those who have showed up at the Republican caucuses tonight in Iowa, at least these early arrivers, tell us, yes, Donald Trump is still fit for the presidency, even if convicted of a crime. These numbers show a very...
So 70% of the people saying that Joe Biden wasn't legitimately elected. Oh, Donald Trump's speech was great. Donald Trump says, I think it's time for our country to come together. Donald Trump then praised Vivek. He said, I want to congratulate Vivek. He did a hell of a job. Donald Trump had a perfectly nice speech last night, but the corporate media needed to cut it off and then have apoplectic meltdown seizures on camera about Donald Trump's speech. This shows you how performative the modern day left is, how truly sad they are inside of the, single room apartments filled with cats and microwave dinners for one that they live in, plus bottle of Xanax on the bathroom sink counter. Listen to Rachel Maddow just have a panic attack meltdown on air over Donald Trump's fascism.
Picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. If we're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government, the leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. Mm-hmm. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation. Right. And the American electorate is made up of two major parties. One of those parties has been flirting with extremism on the ultra-right for a very long time. They've brought them in a way that they haven't been central to Republican electoral politics ever before, and I know because I've been studying this. But once you have radicalized one major party so that those are the preferences of the people who adhere to your party, the leader's interchangeable. Mm-hmm. And yes, Trumpism is sometimes what we call it. Mm-hmm. MAGA movement is probably a better way to do it. But there is an authoritarian movement inside Republican politics that isn't being bamboozled by Trump. Mm-hmm. They are pushing Trump to get more and more extreme, because the more extreme things he says,
The more they
adhere to him. Yeah. And that is coming from a very large proportion of the American right that adheres to the Republican Party. And that's why this is a Republican Party problem more than it is the problem of one man and his leadership.
Doesn't that tie together? What an unbelievable conclusion that MSNBC has come to. That the Republican Party has a problem, and guess what that problem is? Racism.
To the point that you made, Steph, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. She's still a brown lady that's got to try to win in a party that is deeply anti-immigrant and which accepts the notion that you can say immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. She's getting, birthered by Donald Trump. And I don't care how much the donor class likes her, which will ramp up a lot the better she does in New Hampshire. So it's still a challenge. I don't see how she becomes the nominee of that party with Donald Trump still around. I can't picture it happening. Maybe it could happen. Ron DeSantis' only argument for staying in it is he's the white guy, that he can still make the appeal to white evangelicals.
While we have...
Flip the races and see what happens, okay? Flip the races and see what happens. Talk about black people and run Barack Obama or Kamala Harris and just flip the races and have that exact same conversation. See how fast your channel gets taken down. Incredible. Joy Reid is complaining because there are too many white Christians in Iowa. Joy Reid straight up declaring that this is a war on white Christians and white Christians just shouldn't be allowed to vote. This is what's coming. This is what's happening next. This is the goal. It's been the goal for a very long time. It's great that we smashed that last night. It's wonderful that we delivered this last night in a resounding message that racist, hateful rhetoric will not stand. And I love that we delivered salty, salty tears for the libs having absolute apoplectic meltdowns online and us ruining their day. It makes me very happy to ruin their day. The meltdowns were truly, truly epic. CNN cutting away from the Trump speech sort of reminded me of my favorite CNN clip, them cutting away from Donald Trump, stopping in at a little Cuban bakery after getting charged by the feds for fake crimes, and Jake Tapper having one more apoplectic seizure, crying, whimpering, shaking meltdown on air. It's just a reminder of simpler times. Watch.
National security laws and then obstructing and refusing to cooperate with the FBI.
Whatever this spectacle is that's unfolding before us, let's remember what this case is about. Let's remember what this indictment charges. Again, Donald Trump is charged with a series of federal felonies for mishandling the most sensitive government documents that we have and for obstruction of justice, along with Walt Nauta, who is charged with intentionally setting up lies to the grand jury, to the FBI. Any way you look at this, and again, despite whatever may be going on in that restaurant, this case isn't going to be settled legally in a cafe. It's going to be settled in the court based on the facts and law.
The folks in the control room, I don't need to see any more of that. He's trying to turn this in. He's trying to turn it into a spectacle, into a campaign ad. That's enough of that. We've seen it already.
Jake Tapper, who used to work as a literal Democrat flack on the Hill. Can't have that. Can't have people singing happy birthday to Donald Trump on his birthday. Yeah. Just like they can't have a speech about unity last night. Who cares? These people, they are truly miserable. Nobody wants to be at a party with miserable people. Nobody wants to vote for miserable people. There's only so much that prescription for the nation, like that they're not setting a vision forward for the nation. They're just trying to tear down the America First vision for the nation, which is a positive vision for the nation and is an uplifting vision for the nation and is a soulful and law and order vision for the nation. They're just trying to rip that to shreds, and then they have nothing left. We've seen for the last 4 years what they have left. We saw in the summer of 2020 what they have to offer us. That's their vision. And yeah, America First all day, baby. It's your boy, Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay extremely based.